With millions of NFL fans feasting their eyes on the triple feature that they had on Thanksgiving Thursday, the fans would also get another huge treat on Black Friday. But unfortunately, the outcome was hindered by another controversial call. Overall, it was a total success despite two of the games being real snoozers. And again, one of the games ended up with a major debacle that more than likely was the catalyst for the relieving of one's job. Want to find out what all of these were? Stay tuned to find out on Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Welcome back, Gabbers. Thank you all so much for joining us on another edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Of course, you are gobbling with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And guys, I hope you have had a wonderful Thanksgiving. You guys got to eat and throw down with your people, and you are all safe and sound. But let's get to a little bit of housekeeping, shall we? As you saw, the Ravens and Chiefs fell, leaving a new king after the weekend's games of last week. Had a couple of individuals. This was 6 days ago, believe it or not. And I got one from Paul 254 that said, the king is still the king until and if a new one is crowned. And then Lawrence Malone probably said the same thing that I felt. That's not true at all. Nobody gave Brady that credit. They always said Rodgers was better or Peyton was better, flat out disrespecting Brady. If it can happen to someone way better than Mahomes, then it can happen to the Chiefs. They are not the kings of anything except the 2023 season. Well, I'm inclined to agree with you somewhat, Lawrence. Although I will say that Mahomes is approaching that Tom Brady conversation. You know, a lot of people don't want to, acknowledge that, but unfortunately it's a reality that we're soon going to have to be faced with. However, yes, you are correct in the fact that they're not the Kings anymore. You put that title on the line every single week. And honestly, this is where we start tonight. Look, I'm a fan of good quality football. And too many times this season, the Kansas City Chiefs have been the beneficiaries of horrible calls. And it's really got to stop. I mean, this is just getting really redundant. It really is getting redundant, and the fans are seeing it. And look, I'm going to make a plea. Roger Goodell, if you don't step in there and straighten it out, you're going to get people turning the channel. Nobody wants to watch games and feel like they're fixed. I don't care if it hurts your gamblers. I don't care who it hurts. But by golly, you cannot keep watching a game thinking that there's going to be an upset and something like that happen. And what I'm referring to was the fumble that ended up going Kansas City's way. Kind of like what happened in the Georgia Tech game tonight. But I'll talk about that on my other show, Gridiron Gab Triple Option. But what really bothered me was they got together, figured out that we better let Kansas. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's kind of what it seemed like. We better not let Kansas City not get this football. And I was just, look, nobody wanted Kansas City to win more than me. It would have killed my sheets. But needless to say, I also don't want, a team that's played their butts off to not get a fair share. That's not right. You know, at the end of the day, are we going to have to make gambling illegal again? I mean, this is getting outrageous. It's getting blatant now. You got people that are seeing it now. At what point do you come in here and say, all right, look, call the game down the middle? Too many times after 2 minute, the 2-minute report comes out and it says they shouldn't have they missed this call, they missed that call, and it's like that don't do the opposing team any good. And many of you have stated that claim, whether it's in my comments or on my channel or whatever, and I agree with you. I wouldn't want a victory like that. To me, it's a tainted victory. It needs to stop. But the show goes on. Let's look at this game because it's the first one we are going to look at. It is the Raiders and the Chiefs. And honestly, when you look at this game and you say, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I gave them a small chance, not a very big chance. The only reason I gave them a chance is because it was Black Friday. And anytime you have games that are special, special games, there's always an opportunity that there could be an upset. And that's the way I look at games like this. I don't look at it as that they have an obvious shot. I just look at it from the standpoint that they could come out there and they could pull the massive upset. And arguably you could say they could have, because all they needed was a field goal and they were in field goal range. And what's really disheartening, if you're a Las Vegas Raiders fan, and there are going to be a lot of people that will say, you have my condolences and being a smart about it. But you look at this game as a whole, and it looked like the Raiders had taken over this game. And, I mean, you could honestly look and say that Daniel Carlson flubbed this up himself because he missed the field goal late in the first half. Actually, he missed 2 field goals. So you're talking about this was not just a situation where actually he missed 3 field goals. So you looking at a situation where the Raiders very well could have won this game. They left 9 points out there. So I understand there are going to be a lot of Raider fans that are going to be sore about this, but in reality, Daniel Carlson was the one that cost you today. He missed 3 field goals. And, like I said, I went on a rant about this situation. But the reality of it is, when you get opportunities, you can't miss them, especially if you're a team like the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to get every point that you can get. This is not even up for debate. And they didn't get it done. But, however, we will go and we will talk about the tail of the tape. And like I said, Carlson's got to wear this one because that's 9 points that came off the board. Yeah, you can be ticked about the call. I get it. But Carlson's got to shoulder this one. 3 field goals. Aiden O'Connell looked extremely good. So, honestly, considering what they have now, I'm going to say this, and I hope Raider fans are listening, because the truth of the matter is you have another weapon on this team that you are not utilizing. Yes, Brock Bowers is a special player. I'm sorry. Chiefs 19, Raiders 17. But here's the problem, Antonio Pierce. You have got to get in somebody's ear and say, yes, Brock Bowers had 10 grabs for 140 yards and a touchdown, but Michael Mayer had 1 grab for 5 yards. What the What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm just keeping it in perspective. I mean, you can have a 2-headed monster with these tight ends. You could turn around and run the New England Patriots offense when they had a Gronkowski and the late Aaron Hernandez. Brock Bowers needs to be the guy eating up yardage, and then Michael Mayer needs to be doing the short stuff. And Aiden O'Connell has shown, even through his his growing process and his return, that he can be the guy. I think he can be the guy. I really am impressed with what he's done. I think this offensive line is pretty solid. Y'all can't run the football for nothing, but at the same token, if y'all institute Michael Mayer in this offense more efficiently, you'll get more done. No team hardly runs double tight ends. You see the Kansas City Chiefs institute 2 tight ends. Sometimes the Packers do. But many teams don't even have a second tight end, don't even have a first, but let alone a second. Let's go to Mr. CeeLo's formula for the upset. Raiders had 20 first downs to the Kansas City Chiefs 18. Then you look at the total number of plays. Raiders ran 4 less than the Chiefs, but they had over 105 yards more offense than the Chiefs. They nearly doubled what the Chiefs did on the ground alone. And not to mention, Aiden O'Connell outdueled Patrick Mahomes.
What? Stop the cap.
You heard me. Outdueled Patrick Mahomes. And I'm going to tell you something. And the Raiders had the lone fumble, a lone turnover in that game. And when was it? Late. The Raiders did everything right, including winning the time of possession by 3.5 minutes. And they lost. They did everything right. Mr. CeeLo's formula for the upset, they fulfilled everything. Every line belonged to the Raiders. Except the points column. Except the points column. This one's got to hurt, Antonio Pierce. This one's got to hurt. And for the Chiefs, like I said, they just keep benefiting from all of the officiating. Every seemingly bad call goes for them. And the people are seeing it. I mean, it's getting old. I mean, it's always at the end of games where these calls seem to come up and make the biggest difference. But they're still figuring out ways to get it done. Unfortunately, like I said, they're going to need a lot of officiating help if they're going to win this championship. They're not going to be able to beat these other top-tier teams like this. And it's getting more and more apparent. And people are saying, well, the Chiefs are coming up on the softer part of their schedule. Well, you call it soft if you want to. The Raiders were supposed to be a soft part of their schedule. And then they've got a date with the Chargers next week on NBC. And you look at this Cleveland team, at Cleveland. Let's not forget, Pittsburgh just got through losing a game to Cleveland. So, yeah. And then they've got Pittsburgh, and then they've got a tough Denver football team that has got it figured out and could very well put them on skates. You don't want to go into the rule is you're supposed to be playing your best football at the end of the season. Right now, the Chiefs are still trying to figure it out. And I know a lot of people say, well, they're still winning. Okay. All you need to lose is once in the playoffs. That's all you need. And everybody's like, oh, well, the playoffs going to go through Kansas City. That's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee with teams like the Buffalo Bills running around out there. So, food for thought. Food for thought. Let's go back to the games on Thanksgiving and find out who got gobbled up the day after Thanksgiving. And let's find out who Lions 23, Bears 20, as this game, in essence, was the swan song of Matt Eberflus. As now he and his former offensive coordinator are out the door. So now the Chicago Bears, and I will discuss that in a minute. More than likely, when you look at this game, what caused the removal of Eberflus had to do with the clock management and just how, I don't want to say terrible it was, but it wasn't very good. It really was not. And anybody that wants to call this a disaster, they sure can. But you're talking about a Bears team that got shut out in the first half, and then they scored all 20 points in the second half and did a good job slowing down Detroit in the second half to only 7 points. But when it counted the most, it looked like when they ran off nearly 30 seconds, and it's like, what are we doing here? And I get it. You got a rookie quarterback. But it really looked like you had no kind of idea what was going on. You had 7 seconds left. And I don't know what Caleb Williams was told. I don't know what Eberflus told him. And it just really looked like a hot mess. And I don't know. You know, Caleb takes that sack. And me, it would have been more. Some people are going to say he should have spiked it. Well, it would have been 4th and 26. And you would have had to kick the field goal. And you just didn't have anything set up. It was 3rd and 26. You should have had 2 plays called in that situation. And then the other thing, which, you know, is on Caleb. You can't take a sack in that situation. You just cannot. You got to get rid of the football any way you can. And I just felt like there was a lack of communication with the Bears offense. And now you're in a situation where you got your rookie quarterback, just like the Carolina Panthers. You've gotten rid of his coach into the 12th game of the season.
Damn you! Dumb shit! Dumb shit!
Now what are you going to do? Now you essentially have, you see, all but the GM are still here. Ryan Poles. And the reality of it is, he's going to be next. Because at the end of all of this, somehow, you've got to figure out what it is that needs to be done. I'm not a big fan of firing a coach right there at the end. I'm imagining this is probably what's going to happen. Now, most of you guys follow me here. There's a lot of talk that Lincoln Riley is going to be the pick. Or it could even be Cliff Kingsbury. He's doing a great job over there in the Commanders with Jaden Daniels. But I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that it wasn't working to an extent. I think that's what it was. Do I think Thomas Brown's going to get this job? Nope. I'll go ahead and tell you, I don't think Thomas Brown gets this job. I think he is just a placeholder for the moment. He's going to be trying to do, like so many others in his position, to try to audition for the job. I don't think he gets it done. But let's look at the game. For the most part, let's kind of throw that last 30 seconds out the window and kind of look at the game from its totality. I thought the Lions played a complete game up until halftime. And I felt like they were trying to just, they were up 16-0, and they just kind of just, yeah. And, they came out after the Bears scored an opening touchdown in the second half, and then they turned around and they put one up after an 11-play, 78-yard, 7-minute drive. I mean, when that drive was over, it was like when they scored a touchdown with like 2 minutes and 43 seconds and put the game. To me, I thought the way the Bears had been playing, this game was out of reach. I didn't think there was any way, shape, or form that the Bears were going to make any kind of a run. But they fooled me. And you saw some really good play calls out there, and then the Bears turned right back around and they scored on a 9-yard touchdown pass to Keenan Allen. Finally catching a Keenan Allen sighting, a pass interference call on DJ Moore, which was for DJ Moore, which really kept this drive alive and pushed them down the field. And then they were able to hold Detroit to a 3-and-out. Then, of course, themselves, they punted, and then a missed field goal late in that drive. And then Chicago's able to capitalize on the missed field goal, and they get another stop, 3-and-out. And unfortunately, you're running out the clock in a sense. You get the ball back with plenty of time. And I agree with so many that said this was a mismanaged game. I get it. But in retrospect, let's look at it. They got the ball back with 3:30 left. Okay, so in a way, it wasn't so much that it was horribly mismanaged. You knew you had 3 minutes and you didn't want to score too early and give Detroit the football with time to spare. I get it. I'm not going to say they horribly mismanaged. I will say there were moments where I'm just kind of looking around and saying, okay, y'all are not really showing a lot. I think when they got to the 50-yard line, at the 2-minute mark, they were kind of like, okay, we're kind of trying to run the clock out, kick the field goal, and go into overtime. Me personally, I did not like the fact that it felt like that they were just settling for the field goal. They were running it out. Let's play for overtime. I felt like in a lot of instances that's what they were doing. They were just playing for overtime and not really trying to push the envelope there, because when you get the pass interference call on Vildor who's covering DJ Moore, I'm thinking you got the clock stopped. And the biggest thing that you made a mistake with is that you did not, outside of taking that third timeout, which I didn't understand why they didn't do that either. What I didn't understand is why is it that you're not chunking down the field? And then Caleb makes a huge error here. A horrible error. When he does not throw this football away. He took a sack from Zadarius Smith. That was a huge swing of momentum. And then if you're Eberflus, you got to be thinking, look. And he's sitting home for it. But looking at the other aspects of the game, Detroit executed flawlessly in the first half. I mean, they continue to look good, but then the other issue that I looked at was and this is normally not a problem for them. And they had an issue putting away this Bears team. It was almost like normally you see this team and you say, we're going to put y'all away. But I can tell you what one of the issues I saw with this is, you look at the running game that they had. Montgomery had 21 for 88. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries, 87 yards. Why is it that Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get any more than this? See, if I got to ask myself one question, why did Jahmyr Gibbs only get 9 carries in this game? Why? Detroit didn't lose this game, but they very well should have. Jahmyr Gibbs needs to get the dang ball. Just saying. Jared Goff, 21 of 34, 221, 2 touchdowns, was sacked once. David Montgomery, as I said, 21 carries, 88 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries, 87 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5 catches, 73 yards. Tim Patrick, 2 for 48. Jahmyr Gibbs did have a lost fumble, so like we said, that could have contributed to him sitting out. But yeah, you can't do that. I'm sorry. He's got to be out there. DJ Reader was huge. He had 2 sacks. Zadarius Smith, as we've after mentioned, had a sack and a half. Mekhi Wingo had a sack. And Ezekiel Turner had a half sack. And they had 5 total sacks of Caleb Williams. Offensive line has got to be revamped. And Caleb Williams has got to do a better job of getting the ball out of his hands. Williams, on the other hand, was 20 of 39, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, was sacked 5 times. Running game for the Bears just could not get going. DJ Moore, 8 grabs, 97 yards on a score. Keenan Allen, 5 grabs, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. Arguably his best performance of the year in his Chicago Bear rookie tenure. Cole Kmet, once again, not balling out. And this is a product of the offensive coordinator. Cole Kmet helps you. He makes other guys better. Rome Odunze, 2 for 25. Kevin Byard had 10 total tackles on the day. Gervin Dexter had a fumble recovery today. Jonathan Owens, 8 tackles. Gervin Dexter, his fumble recovery was a strip sack. Gervin Dexter's fumble recovery and was a strip of Jahmyr Gibbs. Jack Sanborn had a half a sack, and Austin Booker split that other sack This was 2 sacks that the Bears were able to get on Jared Goff. Lions go to 11-1 and arguably the top dog in the NFC without the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers having anything to say about that. But once again, Matt Eberflus is out as Bears head coach. And now I'm looking at Ryan Poles. Next, we got the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. The Cowboys were able to pull this one out 27-20 as the Giants made a 10-point fourth quarter run and made this thing pretty darn interesting right there at the end, I might say so myself. As you look at this game and you say, no, Dallas should walk away with this thing. And this is one of those games I'm asking for the life of me. Why is Trey Lance not starting for the Dallas Cowboys? Huh? All right, you are going to have to go back in some semblance of a rebuild. What are you doing? You got Cooper Rush out there. Nobody's going to take this kid. You, at least with Trey Lance, got a guy who's a first-round pick, and you could possibly get something or salvage something with him. You got a contract with Dak that ain't nobody going to take. So I don't know what you think you're going to get. All this talk about Shedeur Sanders, all these pipe dreams about that, get them out. Ain't no way anybody's going to take a $60 million deal off the Dallas Cowboys' heads. You can hang that up. Not going to happen. But the reason why I say that is this is your golden opportunity that fell in your lap, that you can find out what it is you have with Trey Lance. And you're not doing it. You're ruining it. Only the Cowboys. I hate to say it like this because I'm tired of the whole how bad the Dallas Cowboys are, because everybody's beating that horse to death. But the truth is the truth. Only the Dallas Cowboys can screw this up so bad. Trey Lance is right there. Play him well, you get some stock for him. Anyway, Rico Dowdle came out and against this New York Giants suspect defense and ran for 112 yards and a touchdown. I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to be the running back going forward. And this will probably be Zeke Elliott's last season in Dallas. Then we look over and Kevontae Turpin is really becoming the guy in this offense. As CeeDee Lamb only had 2 grabs in this game for 39 yards. And ultimately what we're seeing is a lot of Dallas being able to find different guys to get the ball to. And I think that's a tribute to Cooper Rush. But he did put the ball on the ground along with Kevontae Turpin. So, needless to say, this has got to be a situation where they've got to do better. Because you can't be turning the football over. Especially a team like Dallas that can't afford to make those mistakes. But let's look at what the tail of the tape. Dallas had 4 more first downs. Dallas was 7 of 15 on third down compared to 3 of 12 for the Giants. The Cowboys ran 9 less plays. Dallas gained almost 70 more yards of offense. And the Giants turned the ball over twice compared to none for the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys also had a pick 6. So, look in here. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're happy you got the win. But then again, it's kind of like, we got a defensive touchdown. Yeah. That's kind of concerning when you compare the fact that the Giants have less on offense than you do, and you guys scored the same number of offensive touchdowns. That's concerning. But going back to the Giants and post Daniel Jones, couldn't have happened any sooner. Drew Lock was not half bad. He was 21 of 32, and as we said, that costly pick six that he threw, but he was sacked 6 times. Some of that, in my opinion, is on him holding on to the ball. As, like I said, Drew Lock took off 4 times for 57 yards and had a score. Tyrone Tracy, 9 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. Devin Singletary, 7 for 23. I honestly I don't understand why, if you're the Giants, the Cowboys are weak against the run. Why are you out here throwing the football? Why? I get it. You got down 27-10. I get it, but I don't get it. Malik Neighbors, 8 grabs, 69 yards. Theo Johnson, 5 for 54. Tyrone Tracy, 2 for 33 out of the backfield. And these are just 2 hot messes. Eric Kendricks had 10 total tackles and had a sack. Deron Bland and DeMarvion Overshown had 9 tackles, including that pick 6 that he had. Micah Parsons had a sack and a half. Motsy Smith welcomed himself to the sack party, had a half sack. And Carl Lawson added a sack into the total of the 6 that the Cowboys had. And surprisingly, the dynamic duo of Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns was quiet. And now there was a report that came out that Dexter Lawrence dislocated his elbow. So that's a huge blow for the Giants. And in my opinion, if it's something semi-serious or whatnot, he shouldn't be playing hurt. I think you just go ahead and shut him down for the year. You're not playing for anything. Ultimately, you don't want to make this get progressively worse. You want that injury to heal properly. Just shut him down for the year. Call him in there and say, hey, look, guy, we know you gave everything that you had. We know you don't want to, but hey, listen, go ahead. Let's shut you down. We know you got your 9 sacks and whatnot. Just, let's do this. He's listed as doubtful for the next game, and he's got an extended period off. But yeah, I don't. As far as the whole situation with Dallas, why they're not starting Trey Lance is beyond me. That would be my next move. Looking at this and saying, our slim hopes are, they're not worth it. Because we're going to get bounced by whoever we play in the first round. Cowboys 27, Giants 20. And fall to 2-10. And arguably one of the worst teams in the National Football League. And in the Thanksgiving Gobble Gobble finale, it was the Packers 30 and the Dolphins 17. Now, for all of those who watched this game, was there any of y'all that thought this game was close?
Get going.
Yeah, I mean, they made a run. They scored a touchdown right there before the fourth quarter. And they gave their fans a little bit of hope. I had no thought that they were going to make a run in this game. I felt like Miami just couldn't get their offense going. And I thought once they did get it going, the Packers were, y'all don't want to go into that good night? Okay. Now, the Green Bay didn't score a touchdown, but they did put up a late field goal, a field goal that really put this game out of reach. I did think that Miami did a good job of sustaining their drives and then being able to slow down Green Bay's offense a little bit. But in the first half, it was all Packers. I mean, I was watching this game and I thought, oh my goodness, this is fixing to be a straight beatdown. I really thought this was just fixing to be a straight up, they were fixing to open up a can of whoop. But let's look at the statistical output. Surprisingly enough, the Dolphins had 2 more first downs than the Green Bay Packers. And the Dolphins ran 12 more plays than the Packers did. but the Packers gained almost only 12 yards more than they did. But then we look here at the rushing yards. This is a huge thing with these Dolphins. You get games where if this team can run the ball with Achane and Mostert, they're going to hurt you. But then when you get games like this where they only run for 39 yards and you run for 114 yards, which the Packers did, it's tough to win a game. It really is to win a game when you're not able to run the ball. And the Dolphins had the lone turnover, which was the fumble. And the Dolphins actually won, surprisingly enough, with only 39 yards on the ground. The Dolphins actually won the time of possession. But then looking here at the way the game was just dominated, and it was so beautifully called. The Packers did such a great job of mixing and matching their play calls to the point that you had Jordan Love, 21 of 28, 274 yards, 2 scores. Josh Jacobs, 19 for 43, 1 score. But then he also had 4 grabs for 74 yards. See, they ran the ball total for 25 times and 114 yards. See, that's still over 4 yards a carry, guys. That is how a good coach gets it done. See, Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff did such a great job making this Dolphins defense guess. And it almost got to the point where in the fourth, late third, early fourth, it seemed like he got bored. Because the same things he was doing in the first half, it was just kind of like, let me take the foot off the gas. And see, this is a prime example of don't take your foot off the gas. I don't care how pissed off they get that you're running up the score. Because this easily could have finished 30-24. And they get the ball back and they're playing for the win as opposed to getting back to a 1-score game. But Tua looked good. He got sacked 5 times and took a scary hit scrambling. But he was 37 of 46, 365. As I said, the running game was just non-existent. Jonnu Smith continues to be a huge part of their offense. 10 for 113. Tyreek Hill, 6 for 83 and had a touchdown. Devon Achane had 8 grabs for 56. And to me, the one guy that has got to get going in this offense has got to be Odell Beckham. Now, I get it. Waddle had 4 for 53. But when they have that third guy going, this offense is just absolutely unstoppable. Now, I get it. Jonnu Smith is that dude right now. He's going to be the guy that gets fed for the most part until the opposing team says, okay, we're going to stop this. And then that's when Cheatham and Waddle are going to get going crazy. That's probably the big thing. But listen, if you're a Dolphins fan, you got to be encouraged. You walked in there, and yes, your win streak got stopped. But ultimately, as long as you got Jonnu Smith, in my opinion, you've got a chance because teams are going to start paying more attention to this guy. And, of course, you know, if you don't make the playoffs, you need to hang on to him because he is a huge piece of your offense going forward. Packers, on the other hand, they're 2 games back of the Lions and arguably one of the best teams that not a lot of people are talking about. You could argue one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. But that's going to wrap it up for the Thanksgiving edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Make sure that when you join the Gridiron Gab Pro Style family, that you add your name down in the comments. Just the first name is all I need so I can give you a gab out. Also, don't forget, go to the Facebook page, Gridiron Gab Pro Style, and also join the group, Gridiron Gab Pro Style, so you can get all of the added features that go with Gridiron Gab Pro Style, whether it's finding out whether we're doing a live show somewhere or whether or not that we're giving away a free t-shirt. Stay informed. Also, go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo and find out what other shows and what other things I'm caught up in. But until the next time, I hope you guys all stay safe, continue your Thanksgiving holiday, and until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold,
There is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.